What's up, guys? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. I've got an updated Bujin list for you guys today. It's been a long time coming. The ban list came out a while ago now. What I had, I wasn't all the way happy with, and I wanted to play test it a little bit more to make sure that what I was providing was something I actually thought was a pretty nice build. So the differences here are not really in like the type of play or what you're trying to accomplish, but more in how we can be more consistent in getting to our Torifun and then into our combos. So I'll explain that as we get to it, but we'll get right into it then. So the monster lineup's fairly unchanged. We got the triple Torifun. You need this guy to get into your best plays. I'll briefly explain all of them, and then I'll show you guys like a nice combo at the end here. So Torifun, when he is, or you can summon him, tribute him, and then he's like a rescue cat. So two Bujins from your deck with different types. So it'll end up being one of your Beast Warriors and then one of your Bujingis. Then we got three Mahitatsu. So this guy is much better now that we're playing three of this guy. And just because he's a good little starter, like he's a little tiny extender, graveyard setup, hand fixing type of deal. So what he does in your hand is you can discard a Bujin card. That's any Bujin monster, spell, or trap to summon himself. And then when he's on the field, he can do one of two effects. One is to discard one from your hand to grab one from your graveyard and put it back in your hand. So if you wanted to like grab your Torifun back or whatever. And then the other one would be you can banish one Bujin from your graveyard to send one from your deck to the graveyard. So typically, I'll summon this tribute to get this guy and Bujingi. I'll banish the Torifun off of Mahitatsu to then send, you know, whatever, Hare, Turtle, Quillin, whatever you want. And then the reason why he's better with the Arasuda is because Arasuda summons itself when something gets banished. This guy's banishing effect to send one to the graveyard triggers the Arasuda. So ideally you're opening these two if you can. There's other ways to get to your best combo, but that would be like the bread and butter opening is Torifun Arasuda. And I'll show you that combo at the end of the video here, but super good. I like it at 3. Clean this out. For 2, we got Haruko. So this guy's your rank up. He's a pretty important combo piece, but you just don't really want to draw him. And if you do, you only want to see him if you've already drawn like the Torifun or other extenders or something, because as a normal summon, this thing is garbage. You need to be able to use it for its pendulum effects. So what it does is you activate it in your pendulum zone, it banishes itself, and then it'll rank up a Bujin Xyz monster into any other one. So it can't like rank up Susanoo into Susanoo, but it can rank up Susanoo into Amaterasu or Tsukiyomi or Kagutsuchi. So 2's good. 3 I don't like just because I don't want to see it in my hand on accident that often. And I don't want 1 because once it's gone, and sometimes you can use it twice or you need to use it twice. 1 Harume. I was playing this at more than 1 for a very long time. The reason I kept it at 1 here is because it's just not a good draw like early game. It's the only one that can't normal summon. Like you have to banish from the graveyard to special summon it. In that way, it's a nice extender because you don't need resources in your hand to summon it. But like turn 1 or turn 2, hopefully by turn 2 you're good to go. But turn 1 especially, if this is the Bujin you open over like I was playing 2 and 2 of the Arasuda. Drawing this over this is infinitely worse. You want the ones that you can make use of as seamlessly as possible. So 1 of that's fine. And then I play my 2 not so good Bujins still, my Yamato and my Mikazuchi, just because I refuse to cut my boys. Been playing them forever, and I will continue to play them forever. But if you were looking to just build the most competitive version of this deck, I would cut these and probably play 2 more hand traps, and I'll explain that when we get to it. But we'll say for now, cut these and play 2 Nibiru, and that'll make sense in a moment. So then for Bujingis, I got 1 Crane, 1 Hare, 1 Turtle, 1 Quillin, 1 Sinew. Oh man, I'm going off the board here. Let me reorganize. And then 1 Centipede. So I play 6 I like to have the nice versatile options for like the Torifun, because essentially what you're doing with Torifun is picking one that you're going to XC summon with and then detach to put in the graveyard pretty much right away. And so I want to have a choice of effects to use. If you only had room for, say, like 4, I would probably cut this and keep these 4. I like these 2 in addition, just because, like, if you get into a grind game, you will absolutely burn through 4 of them, just like that. So having the extra bodies for additional Torifun plays or whatever is just really nice to have. But I would say these 4 are essential. These are the ones I use the most. And even the Sinew over the Crane, I think, is... I didn't expect it to be, but I like it way better, just because, like, between Mahitatsu and, like, Foolish Burial and stuff like that, you're doing a lot more sending to the graveyard than you are adding to the hand. Like, if you're adding to the hand with Susanoo, it's probably not going to be a Crane. It's going to be a combo piece, because your Susanoo is not going to stick around for long. So I would pick this over this in this type of a build any day also. So now hand traps, and I'll kind of explain what I was talking about with the Yamato and the Mikazuchi earlier. So I play 4. I play 2 Ghost Ogre and 2 Effect Veiler. And then I had mentioned I would also play double Nibiru. The reason for that is because I'm playing Small World in this build, and the only cards that can feasibly be played in the deck that make Small World live, that don't disrupt how the deck plays, are going to be hand traps. There's only 4 that can work with the deck. It's these 2, it's Nibiru, and it's Iris, the Iris Sword Soul. They're all light monsters that are not Beast Warrior, Wing Beast, or Beasts. Man, I don't know why I had a hard time remembering that. And then they also have stat lines that don't interrupt the conditions for Small World to search. The only issue that I run into with these is that you can't use it to get a Mikazuchi because they have 0 attack, both of them. But outside of that, you would Small World, reveal any Bujin in your hand that isn't Torifun or Mahitatsu. Did I say Mikazuchi earlier? I meant Mahitatsu. So you would reveal anything in your hand that isn't a Torifun that you want to become a Torifun. Then you're going to reveal one of your hand traps in your deck. You're going to banish both of them face down, and you're going to get your Torifun. So it's like a, kind of like a Rhoda, kind of like a, it's more complicated than that. Between this and like Pot of Desires, I figured this was better just because it's not going to burn as many as of your resources. You get to choose specifically what you want. And really, anytime we're activating Desires anyway, the goal is to get to that Torifun most of the time. So I felt this streamlined it a little bit better. I've not had a problem where I didn't have a hand trap available to activate the Small World with in the deck. But I could see it being a problem if you played the double Nibiru also in exchange for the Mikazuchi and the Yamato. You're pretty much never going to have that problem. The only reason Nibiru isn't main decked here is because I won't cut my 2 boys, and because it's a little bit more situational. Like, these will play against any deck. Nibiru against, what would be a good example? Like an Altergeist or a Dogmatica type of deck that only summons once or twice. Nibiru is kind of dead. For the rest of my spells now, we got double Tenki. If we could play 10 Tenki, we'd play 10 Tenki. It's just 2 more Torifun, essentially. Or, I've had games where I opened up these 2 and then nothing else good. And this is also an Arasuda and a Torifun, depending on what else is in your hand. So, like, you could open nothing but these 2 plus some fodder, and it still can fix your hand and give you a really nice play. So 2, if it goes to 3, we're playing 3. Believe that. Foolish Burial, set up the graveyard. Monster Reborn, take stuff from the graveyard. You could cut that, I suppose, if there was something you wanted to play instead. And Call by the Grave, just on the off chance that you end up getting the opportunity to stop an Ash Blossom or something on a Torifun, that's why it's in here. I wish it was at more than 1. If it was at 2, that'd be great. At 1, it's just kind of like, hope for the best. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I could see why you might cut both of these in exchange for more like interruption against your opponent, but I like them for now. And then triple Forbidden Chalice. It's just like the best spell in the game, we'll say, and it's at 3. Just being able to shut stuff off, being able to cut attack in half. it's just a great card, as well as being a quick play. Yeah, I guess there's not much to say about that. You guys understand why that thing is as good as it is. And then for traps, I play double imperm and triple solemn strike. It's just, I find this to be like the best interruption trap card you can play. You don't really want to burn a ton of life points, so I wouldn't play Judgment because it's a little bit of a higher cost, even though you can't use it late game. You're usually not going through 3 of these anyway. It's going to be like 1, and your goal is to shut off 1 thing that's going to outwork your board. And then ideally from there, you're going to have your F0 on board, and you're going to be able to control with that. And then the imperm effect negation is just always good. Obviously, you know, we got the Chalice, we got the Veiler, we got the Turtle. We like to negate. So that's our main deck. We'll go through the extra deck here. This is pretty much not different than previous times, but we'll go through it quick. One Hashima, you probably don't need to play this. It's just some back row removal, as well as like in particularly tight spots, if you don't have great resources in hand, it can be used to get an extra couple bodies on board if you're just looking to put damage out, but it's only here because it's back row removal and nothing more. You could cut it if you wanted. Triple Susanoo, this thing is like, I would say it's the Torifun of your extra deck. It's gonna get all your plays going, but you're often not leaving this on board unless your goal is to like attack over everything. So he detaches 1 to either search a Bujin and add it to your hand, or search 1 and throw it in the graveyard. Like I said earlier, you're usually using it to search for combo pieces, not really for graveyard setup, but occasionally that might come up. And then his second effect is he can attack every monster your opponent controls once each. So it can wipe a whole board of like whatever. If they scapegoat you to try to slow you down, he can kill them all. If they just have a bunch of monsters, that would be like one of the few times you're searching your Crane or your Sinew, is if they have some bigger monsters and you need to get over a lot of them. You would search the Crane to get over the big boy, and then hopefully be able to get over the rest without the attack boost. Something I forgot to mention about Torifun also is when a Bujin Xyz is summoned while it's in the graveyard, it can attach itself to that Xyz monster as an equipped spell, and then every monster it destroys gets banished. So if you're going to use him to attack everything, you might as well equip Torifun out of the graveyard and then banish everything as you're destroying it. So that's a nice little interaction there. The one Tsukiyomi, it's just a little hand fixing, you know, discard your hand, draw 2. Kagutsuchi, this guy is really nice because he's got a non-once per turn protection effect, so you can detach to prevent one of your Bujin Beast Warriors from being destroyed, and you can do it twice, or, you know, if you happen to have more materials on it somehow, like through a rank up or something, you can do it more than twice, but twice is usually plenty. Plus he's got the effect on summon to mill 5 from the top of your deck, and for every Bujin card milled that way, he gains 100. So he's usually coming onto the field at like 2,800 attack, just based on like the ratios in here. Like half the deck, literally half the deck is Bujin cards. So he usually ends up with a little attack boost too. And then Amaterasu at 1 also. That's just because it's really the way you're gonna make your best board. So you're typically going to make Susanoo, search the Haruko, rank up into the Amaterasu, detach Amaterasu to special summon back from the banish zone, and then hopefully, if you're doing the play right, you've got another resource in hand to extend with like Arasuda or whatever, and then overlay for the other stuff. I'll explain the other stuff better. But on your turn, detach to special summon one of your banished. On your opponent's turn, detach to add it back to your hand. So nice stuff. It's also nice where this thing is going to end up staying on the field a little bit more, or a little bit longer than it would have in previous builds where I was trying to rank up this thing and get it out of my way as soon as possible, because I think the Susanoo's and the Kagutsuchi's effects are more valuable in those builds. In this one, getting it on the board and leaving it there would allow you to take your Torifun that's been banished off of whatever, Mahitatsu or, you know, whatever the case may be, and summon it back on your next turn, because you're going to be able to protect this thing just fine with the combo I show you at the end here. And then it's like you don't have to draw into more of them. You can just keep reusing the same one. So really cool interactions available there. This is the rest of your combo here. So we got Gaga Magician, because that's not ridiculous. F-Zero, Utopic F-Zero. So that's your boss monster. As much as the other ones are awesome, the Bujin XE's monsters are forever going to be my favorites. This is your boss monster, and I would not cut it. It's like such a huge part of the strategy here. We got the one Tiger King because it can search the Tenki. We've got the one Zeus in case you get stuck with a Tsukiyomi or some other garbage. We got the one Giant Hand just for the flex. I would cut it to play something else if I was taking this game seriously. And then I got the one Exciton Knight and the one Tornado Dragon. These almost don't ever get made. The Tornado Dragon sometimes. These two almost not at all. This thing occasionally, this thing a little bit more frequently, and then the rest of this is going to be what you're mostly using. So that's the extra deck. And I'm going to pull the cards out I need to show you guys this combo. All right, so this will be that 2-card combo I was talking about earlier. What it's going to do is it's going to put your F-Zero, Utopic F-Zero on the board, as well as an Amaterasu with a graveyard that will allow the Amaterasu to do something more than just creating resources. So your 2-card combo will be Arasuda and Torifun. As you've seen in the deck, it's built kind of around trying to get these two in your hand as quickly as possible. So ideally, this is what you're getting to. There's other ways to pull off the combo, but it requires more than 2 cards. But you can get creative, I'm sure. So I'll show you how this is going to go. We're going to normal summon the Torifun. Just try to keep this in frame this time. I've been struggling with that here, as you can see. Torifun effect, tribute itself. And we're going to grab Mahitatsu, and we're going to grab Hair. This can be any Bujingi that you want in the graveyard. I just like Hair. It's a good safe bet. Protects stuff from being destroyed. Mahitatsu's effect is going to activate. We're going to banish our Torifun from the graveyard. I'll just throw that up there for now. To send one from the deck to the graveyard. I'm going to send my Sinew, but once again, you can send whichever ones you want. The reason I picked these two is because the Amaterasu is going to stay on the board, so this will be protection, and then this is an attack boost. If there's something else you want, like the Centipede to pop back row or the Quillen to pop anything face up, you can do that also. But Sinew's in the graveyard now. That banish off of the Mahitatsu is going to trigger the Arasuda, so we're going to summon that guy on board also. So now we're going to overlay for the Susanoo. And we're going to detach. I want to detach the Hair just so it's in the graveyard. If for whatever reason they try to pop your Xyz Bujin, you want to try to protect it if you can. So Hair is now in the graveyard to do that. And Susanoo's Search is going to get us Haruko, which is our rank up boy. We're going to activate the Haruko in the Pendulum Zone. Its effect is going to activate to banish itself. So we'll put that up there with Torifun to rank up our Susanoo into our Amaterasu here. So our Amaterasu is going to activate its effect to special summon one of our banished. We're going to detach the Susanoo specifically. You need that in the graveyard so that you can use it in a second here to make the Utopic. And we're going to special summon back. I'm going to say grab the Haruko. It doesn't really matter, but as I was explaining earlier, the goal would be to keep this on board until your next turn, and then you can recycle the Torifun that's still banished, whereas if you were to grab the Torifun back, it's going to end up in the graveyard or stuck as material. We're going to overlay our 2 4s to make the Magician. I'm not going to say that name again. Magician's effect will be to detach to special summon one of your Xyz monsters from your graveyard. It negates its effects. That doesn't matter because we're not going to use its effects, but we're going to detach. We're going to grab back our Susanoo. So effects are negated. It can't do anything but be material at this point, which is exactly what it's going to be. We're going to overlay the Magician and the Susanoo for the little F-Zero, and then we're going to overlay that whole stack with big F-Zero. So now your end board off of this 2-card combo will be Amaterasu, which can pull something back to your hand if you want it, or on your next turn is going to grab this and put it back on your field so you can make more Xyz. Your graveyard is going to be Hair to protect it from being destroyed, and Sinew to be able to honest it if it's going to be attacked over. And then F-Zero, Utopic F-Zero with 3 materials. So what F-Zero does is when an effect is activated, it can detach one to negate the effect, and then if that monster was on the field, it steals it. So ideally, you're waiting for them to do, you know, what's a good example, like Alubear. Normal summon, effect to search, negate, steal the Alubear, so now they don't have the material, they don't have their search, you have an extra body, whatever. So that's that combo. I will say this was not mine necessarily, not my combo. I got the idea from a commenter. I'll put the name up right there. So I want to thank you for reminding me about the Magician with many gauze. But that's my mainline combo. That's my updated Bujin build. Hopefully that's been helpful for you guys to take a look at. If you got any ideas on things you might change to make it more consistent or better, or the ways that you play the deck, let me know. I love to talk about it. I love to talk about this deck in specific, but any deck. Which reminds me, if there's something you want to see me build, throw a deck profile up here for you. Let me know about that in the comments down below. Also, I'd be happy to look into playing any deck and learning any combos and what have you. I tend to stay away from meta because I just like the rogue stuff, or the, I don't know, casual stuff, we'll say, a little bit better. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me for a few minutes here, checking out my favorite deck with me once again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.